if it's an informed decision. So I feel, I think either way that a parent decides to go, they know their child, they know what's right for their child. But if a tool like yours works without medication, I mean, isn't that a success? Isn't that, because this works for my son, and he doesn't need the medication, so that's a good thing, right?
That's what we want. We want the most practical, simple, natural solutions to everyday school challenges and everyday life challenges, and it's really something important for a parent to be coached on helping children to develop their strengths without frustrations and helping them set routines for getting up and winding down at night, and knowing how that parent will be with their child in terms of the strategies they use to solve problems for their kids and to teach their kids how to solve problems. And these type of things are really important for a parent to learn how to do with their kid. And it sounds like you're, doing some of these things naturally on your own, which is because partially you have these issues yourself, so you're able to be more sensitive of them and you're very aware of them. But a lot of parents don't know the type of parent that they are. They don't know if they're overreactive. They don't know if they're underreacting, and they don't know if they're putting more stress on the kid by not helping them figure things out or by doing things for them all the time. They just have no idea what type of parent they are. And they also don't know what kind of questions to use with their children so that the kids will focus, like these pages have you focus on, and will enable the parent to get the child to do the actions that they need to take to feel better about themselves. And some parents are more gifted at this than others, but the type of parents that I coach are ones that really need a lot of coaching in terms of helping them learn how to help their children develop the most. And that means really sustaining time out, really sustaining the same routines, really sustaining the same attitudes of patience and persistence and things of that nature.
Well, I definitely want to talk about coaching, and we can kind of end with that and do a wrap-up just by talking about coaching. But before that, I wanted to let you know that my daughter actually did have a brain injury. She fell out of her bedroom window when she was 6, and she had a subdural hematoma. She had to be airlifted to a trauma center. She had brain surgery, and since that time, she's had more problems, but she's older. She's almost 17, and she really has learned, okay, I'm weak at this. How do I get around this? So do you think that children with ADD and ADHD, that they actually do learn coping skills?
Yes, absolutely. The miraculous thing is, I want to use the analogy of the Stevie Wonder. He's blind, and he was born blind. But he, as a result of being blind, had an acute ability to hear, right? So because it is very possible for the brain to adjust and deal with things in a way that will, the word I'm looking for is compensate. Compensate for these rather difficult challenges. And if Stevie Wonder was not born blind, maybe he would not have been such a brilliant man when it came to writing and singing and performing music. It was really ironic that Andrea Bocelli, the famous opera singer, only became blind in a soccer game and still was given the gift of having a tremendous vocal. That is a very unusual thing, that someone who has no direction in terms of vocal ends up being able to use that as a backup, no pun intended, in terms of using his strengths. That's a very unusual circumstance. So that's basically my answer, that more often than not, kids will learn to compensate, and I have very many colleagues that are very well known, including Dr. Hallowell, who still talks about his dyslexia and his ADD and how hard it is for him to read, and yet he was able to go through medical school and was able to write books, even though giving him a book to read is a very labored, intensive situation. And there are people that have auditory issues that I've met who are colleagues of mine who do evaluations for kids who also has ADD and other learning disabilities and still was able to become a psychologist. So that's proof, you know, and Dr. Hallowell always talks about how, yes, having ADD is an authentic thing, but it also does take kids a lot longer and with a lot more labor to do certain things that other kids would take for granted. Absolutely.
Now let's talk about your website a little bit, which is www.reachbeyondadd.com. And you have a blog on there. You have a e-newsletter that people can sign up for. And then you also have coaching and counseling services. What can a parent expect? Let's say they're interested in coaching. What can they expect when they sign up with you for a coaching session? What does that look like typically?
It really looks like whatever it is that they want to deal with and grow in, whether it's time management, whether it's organizational skills, whether it's learning how to be a better parent, dealing with scheduling. Any of the issues that have to do with ADD are things that we have broached with our clients. So it's really up to them in terms of what it is they need to work on. And very often there'll be an assortment of things. So we first like them to get evaluated, so we don't take for granted that just because they think that they have ADD that they do. And then we can start from there if they want to talk about the different aspects that are really getting in their way. And sometimes the most complicated of situations have very simple solutions that they didn't even think of because their minds will make things into more complicated issues than they really are. And it's our job as a coach to give them the hope and the support and the direction that they already have from within, but they're not able to utilize. And that's what a coach is. Just like some coach with a whistle in his mouth on a football team will be there to spot check players and tell them what they need to work on the next game and things like that. So a coach is someone that really stands for hope and really helps them with not only hope but obligations and actual issues that come up on a daily basis with a lot of persistence and encouragement along the way, just the way any other coach would be. And it's very effective because we ask for weekly accountability types of things, so they can email us or call us in between the weeks in between the sessions, so that they are staying on task and they're staying focused.
So basically, there are assignments, there are things they have to do, and there's accountability, so that they're following through each week. So it's a once-a-week thing, correct?
Well, it depends on the client, and they're not really assignments. It's little baby step goals that they want to achieve to reach certain bigger goals that they want. They're short-term goals and they're long-term goals. They're short-term obligations and they're long-term obligations. And whatever it is they feel they need to work on is what we work on, and we use different techniques that we learned in coaching to help them come up with things that they already had inside, with the help of brainstorming also, where the client will suggest something and the coach will suggest something back and forth. So.
Right, absolutely. Well, I love quotes, so we're about to wrap up, but one quote that I loved I think really summarizes the whole coaching aspect. You have a lot of quotes in here between diary pages, and I love that. And you say, nothing is particularly hard if you break it down into small jobs. And that was a quote by Henry Ford. And I think that's what coaching helps parents do, is to break, the job down, the task of parenting a child with ADHD down into small, manageable tasks.
Right. And there's funniness in here, too. Be nice to nerds. Chances are you'll end up working for one. That's by Bill Gates.
Right. That's true. That is true.
Treat other people, because we don't always love nerds, and we'll end up having one in our class or as a boss or something like that, and we have to be a little bit more sensitive. And, these actual sayings that are by some famous people and some not are topics for discussion in classes and topics for discussions at the dinner table. Friday nights can be family night for families that have kids with ADD or parents with ADD, because each one can talk about what's either